You're listening to the Play Like a Girl podcast, episode number 19.
You play ball like a girl!
I'm Nikki B with Play Like a Girl, made just for female athletes.
I can be a girl in a man's game, a diamond in the dirt.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Play Like a Girl podcast. I'm your host, Nikki B. Here at Play Like a Girl, we aim to encourage more confidence in young women who play sports and give them the necessary tools and advice to have an amazing career in sports and beyond. If you are a young woman who plays sports and lives an active lifestyle, or you know one of these young women, I am so excited you are here. Each week, we will either bring you a guest in the sports world or have a roundtable discussion of the many taboo and important topics in the world of female sports. Are you with me? Let's change the game. Before we dive into this episode, I want to share the review of the week. We want to start sharing these reviews, so be sure to leave a review with your name and IG handle to get a shout out. This week's review comes from Lisa Ann 19104, who says, "This podcast is great for the young female athlete. Topics are interesting and informative. Highly recommend." Thank you so much, Lisa, for the sweet review. Ladies, this week's guest is wrestler Arian Carpio. She is a 3 times age group national champion, 2 times Pan American Medalist, has been competing internationally for Team USA since she was 13 years old, and is working hard to qualify for the 2020 Olympics. We chat about what it's like competing in such a combat sport, owning your confidence, and battling and overcoming eating disorders. She is a trailblazer in wrestling and female sports. So let's dive in, and please give a warm plug welcome to our guest, Arian Carpio. Arian, thank you so much for hopping on the Play Like a Girl podcast today. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm so excited too.
Okay, awesome. So something I like to do with our guests is some rapid fire questions just so we can get to know you a little better before we dive right into the interview. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So the first one is, where do you currently reside?
Tempe, Arizona.
Oh, Arizona. Okay. Where did you grow up?
Federal Way, Washington.
Oh, wow. Cool. Okay. And then what sports did you play growing up?
I dabbled in a little bit of soccer and gymnastics, but I'm stuck I did a little track and field too, some hurling, but I obviously stuck out with wrestling.
Amazing. Okay. What is your favorite quote?
Probably like the Bible verse, Joshua 1:9. Like right here on my wall. It's, "Be strong and courageous, for the Lord is with you wherever you go."
I love that. That's amazing. We just talked about having courage and how being vulnerable is courageous as well in our last podcast. So that fits right in. I love that. Okay. What is one of your superpowers?
I think being able to like read the situation, like just kind of like social cues, probably like knowing when people are uncomfortable, kind of thing like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I'm sure that's very important for your sport as well. And then final question, who is your favorite athlete?
It's kind of cheesy, but growing up, it was always like my older brother.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that is not cheesy. That is really, really cool. Okay. Well, let's dive right into it. I don't know if this has anything to do with this next question, but how did you get into wrestling? Because I know we talked about before we went on this interview, we kind of talked about how wrestling is more of a combative sport, not really something that females get into. So how did you get into wrestling?
Yeah, so my dad was one of those like dads that like coached every sport that his kid was in. And for some reason, like, I could tell he really loved wrestling. Like, it was the one that he had passion for, but he wouldn't let me do it for some reason. But I just, like, wanted to be, like, daddy's girl, like, the apple of his eye. And I just, like, kept just going to practice, trying to, like, wrestle on the sidelines, all this stuff. I had no idea, like, what a tough sport it was. I just wanted to be my favorite. And yeah, so like after like 2 years, like I think I was like 4 when I first tried, because like I just could like feel that vibe that he really, really loved wrestling. And like, yeah, he just loved it. Like you could just tell. And yeah, so I just like kept going to practice, and eventually he was just like, oh, okay. After he saw like it got added to the Olympics in 2004, he like really changed his mind about women doing combat sports.
That's
So yeah.
amazing. So, and you said 4 years old when you started?
No, that's when
Oh,
I tried. So I started when I was 6
gotcha.
officially.
Dang, that is pretty young. Well, talk about that. So you started when you were about 6 years old, and walk us through that journey from like 6 years old all through high school.
So at 6, I had to wrestle. So I had to wrestle boys up until my freshman year of high school. And
Wow.
Washington, luckily, is one of those states where it's like a sanctioned sport for women. It's, I think like there's like less than 20 states that actually have it sanctioned. But by the time I was in high school, it was like by my junior year, it was already our state tournament was already 10 years old. So um, it it was just a established sport by then. So, but anyways, before that, when I was younger, I just remember for the first time like realizing that I was a girl doing a sport. Like when I did soccer or gymnastics, no one really made it a big deal that I was a girl. And I just remember never really wanting to ever be like a boy, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Like I brought my Barbies to like my tournaments. Like it's really weird. Like now that I look back at it, and I remember one time because I had like Barbie everything, and I
Didn't
had
we
like a
all?
yeah, and I had like a Barbie sports bra on, and I remember I was like, it's just crazy how I still remember this, but I was like either 6 or 7, and this dad said to his kid, "Okay, even though she's wearing a Barbie sports bra, doesn't mean you need to go easy on her." And I remember like from that moment on, I was just like, I am, no one needs to go easy on me, you know, like I wanted it to be known that I was a girl and like I still was beating the boys. Like I never was, it was always more than just a match for me. It was like, I felt like I was always fighting for something bigger from like a
Mm-hmm.
young age.
Right. Wow. That, no kidding. That is a very young age to kind of have that identity realization, I guess, and know that, there is like such a difference between what society thinks boys are supposed to do and what society thinks girls are supposed to do. So that's crazy that you got to experience that at such a young age. But I mean, what preparation for you that you wrestled with the boys all growing up. I think that was probably like you said, it was good preparation for you because you were just determined to win, no matter who it was, whether it was a boy or a girl. Like it brought that competitive fire in you. So I absolutely love that. And then, so talk a little bit more about your high school experience and then going into college and how like that whole recruiting process worked for you.
So high school, we had girl sanctioned, like state tournament and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But what was weird was like my high school for some reason didn't like make us a girl schedule, and I like it was just really weird because like we were very established, but for some reason my school like thought it was okay to just bring the girls along and just try to find like scrimmage matches for us, even though there was like readily available so many girls tournaments every weekend. So that was really weird, especially because of the fact that I beat a lot of the boys on the high school team and like they didn't even offer me a spot to like challenge for the varsity spot, and they gave us like just because like girls wrestling was already sanctioned, if that makes sense. So anyways, they gave us like JV uniforms. um they gave us like just pretty much like the short end of the stick. I kind of felt like a second class citizen, even though I was
Wow.
putting in a lot more extra work than a lot of the boys were.
Mm-hmm.
It actually ended up in like a lawsuit. So we eventually,
Wow.
um, because my freshman year, I was like, okay, so I asked, I was like, why aren't we, getting the same uniforms as the varsity boys? Why aren't we getting this? Why aren't we getting that? And like their first excuse was that we didn't have a full roster. So like, luckily, I had a lot of like girlfriends growing up, and I was just like, hey guys, just I need your help. Like, just come out, just like what you think you'll like it. I like sold it in so many different ways. I was like, if you want your legs stronger, I was like, you can do this, you'll lose weight, like like, and to everybody, I was just trying to sell it. And eventually, like by my sophomore year, we had like so many girls that we had to have separate practices coming out. So
Wow.
that was awesome. And then we got our private funding because of that. And then like the lawsuit, like it just ended because we kind of settled on the fact that like, okay, everything, we were never asking for more, we were just asking for equal, and we met,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So that was a very crazy experience. I think it definitely took a lot of toll on me as a high schooler, but like I knew that it had to be done just for girls of the future. And it's just looking back at my high school now, like there's always girls still coming off of wrestling. There's still a girls wrestling team that exists. And yeah, so that was a very, very, very
Yeah.
my life. Yeah.
I love that though. That just warmed my heart because I can just tell you had so much drive and determination. Like you said, it was not about more, it's just about equal. And I think that that is so powerful because you were only probably like 14, 15 at that age when you were doing that. And for you to be, you know, fighting that fight at that age is just super cool and really, really inspiring. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really awesome and good inspiration for our listeners. And then so talk about your college experience. How did that all work out? I know you and I talked about it a little bit, and I love this story and I want to hear more. So talk about your college experience.
So my junior year, I got picked up by this club called the Sunkissed Kids, which is based here in Arizona. Actually, like, he's like this big agriculture guy. He's like affiliated with the Sunkissed Orange, and he wrestled for ASU, and he sponsors a bunch of wrestlers now. So it's very awesome. They're the Corey family, and they're just an amazing family. They're just the best. But so my junior year, my brother had a scholarship to wrestle at ASU, so he's 3 years older than me, and he was already wrestling there. And they just hired a new coach at ASU just to elevate the program, and it happened to be Zeke Jones. And just the level that the girls wrestling programs were at when I was looking into colleges, there was about like 26 colleges that offered scholarships, and a lot of them were very appealing, and I definitely believe I could have achieved like what I'm still striving for at this point at those colleges, but I'm just not a rural girl. I couldn't do it. Like, I had to be in some type of city. Like I knew like I just would drive myself insane. I've never been able to like just do that, like have nothing to do, and I just needed to be somewhere where like I could at least see something, bright lights or something. So I all in all decided to come to Arizona, where they have a RTC, which is a regional training center. And so I walked onto the ASU men's team with that, and I was the second girl to ever do that. Wow. And so that was a very cool experience. I got to train alongside my brother, and for the second time, like in our careers, and it was definitely a very, very humbling experience because in high school, like I could beat a lot of boys on the runs, I could do all that, but next to like D1 men, it's like such a different story. Like I used to be able to squat the same, and like in like my experience on the ASU men's team, I used to feel so bad in the weight room when I'd get like paired up with somebody, because like he would have to take all his like plates off, and like I would just have like one or something, and it was very humbling. Another experience where I felt like a girl. For sure. But I definitely learned a lot about myself in that whole like experience. But I was paying like I ended up like having to become financially independent, and it was just like, okay, either I work a lot and I go to school, or like I can figure things out and just wrestle. So that's what I'm doing. And now like I like just do caregiving every now and then whenever I need like some type of income, but I'm pretty good at budgeting, and like during the times like that I don't have a whole bunch of competitions and stuff, I'm pretty good at like just saving up the money I need to be able to just train full time. So
yeah, that's absolutely amazing. I think it's so cool that like wrestling is it for you, and you're going to make it work no matter what, whether it's, being on the boys team at ASU, or whether it's, going off on your own. And I think that's so cool. And what's it like being a professional wrestler? And like, is the money okay in wrestling for women? And, like you said, are you able to support yourself? Like what is it like being a professional wrestler, especially as a female?
So they give stipends to the top 3 wrestlers from USA Wrestling. So that's nice. Not a lot of Olympic sports do that. And then also Sunkist gives a stipend as well. So it's definitely doable, but if you have that big debt, you know, like from student loans and stuff, that can make it hard. I know a lot of girls work still, but to be honest, anybody working a full-time job makes more than a wrestler. But there are like medal bonuses and stuff like that. So there's definitely like big things to shoot for. Like, if you win gold at the Olympics, like you get $250,000. And I know a lot of sports don't do that, like offer a medal. And like even at every world championship, I believe the gold is 50,000, silver is 25, and then bronze is 15, I believe. So it's like still like something, you know, like it's definitely like there's definitely money to be made. And I still feel like I'm on the young side of everything, but I feel like this is definitely my year to like just like have a big like outbreak season. Like I'm so excited for the season to come up.
Oh, I love that. I'm so excited for you too. And talk a little bit, you mentioned the USA team. So how did you get onto Team USA for wrestling? And I'm sure that's such a high honor and super cool. And I think you told me you're a 2020 Olympic hopeful. So talk about kind of all that process and how you plan to get into the 2020 Olympics.
So, when I first started wrestling for Team USA was when I was, I feel like, okay, I was definitely a sophomore in high school, and I always think that's like 13, but that's not 13. That's like 15. So that's when I first made the team, and I got to go to the Pan American Championship, and I got to do that twice. And then ever since then, I've been going on international tours and stuff and getting invited to all those trips. So that was awesome. That definitely like even like I think that's what really helped with the lawsuit too, is like I was on Team USA. It's like, what could they really say? Like, I don't deserve a bar, you know, like that was definitely a turning point in my life. I think sometimes I take it for granted because it's been occurring for quite a bit of my life, a big portion of my life now, and I always like forget how cool it is to represent like this awesome country. But yeah.
That's amazing. I think that's so, so cool. And like you said, I'm sure sometimes it's, you know, hard to remember, but I think for you, like take a step back and realize like you have accomplished so much in your life. And I think it's so aspiring or inspirational for all of our listeners, because I mean, the Olympics, like not many people get to say that they've competed and been in the Olympics. So that's really awesome. And just talking a little bit more about this, is there or was there ever like a plan B for you? Like, is there, or is like wrestling the end goal and you're like, you're not going to stop for anything else?
Yeah, I'm kind of crazy. Like, I really want to be in the Olympics one day so badly. Like, actually at the end of last March, I got rear-ended and I got traumatic scoliosis from that on the freeway. And for some reason, like, I could barely walk, and I was just like, I had like a tournament in 2 weeks, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go. And I definitely regret going. I don't know why I did, but that's just like the crazy in me. Like, from a young age, I've pushed through like a lot of injuries just to compete, and now I definitely am taking a toll for like that. But I've been doing a lot of rehab, and everything's feeling so much better now. But yeah, I definitely think I'm crazy because I've never had a plan B.
I love that though. I think that just goes to show how much drive and determination you have. And I think that's so cool. But talk about too, I did not know about your injuries. What does it take to come back from an injury? And especially not just the physical side of it, but also the mental side of it as well.
I think definitely just keeping in mind your end goal, you know, like what you want all in all. Just, it really is like, I don't know how to describe it. I kind of blank out a little bit, to be honest. Like, I can't really like put my finger on it because I'm just like, I gotta get better. I gotta get better. I gotta get better. Like, rehab is so repetitive and it's so like just kind of mundane sometimes that like you have to blink out of it. I'm sure you know, but like it is very mundane and I don't really like to get in my head like that. Like I just like, you know what, I'm gonna come back better because I know like whenever I am like rehabbing something, I just try to rehab everything at the same time. It's like while I'm here, balance out this hip or get some needling here too. But so it's definitely a time where you not only like I feel like it's a really good like me time, a lot of like just reflection and just building up your hunger again, just like wow, I really do want to do this because it's like not even just injuries but just like when life happens too, like I'm financially independent, that was really big. And even then I was just like, how am I going to get back on the mat? It wasn't like if am I going to wrestle again? It was just like, how am I going to do it? And I feel like you just have to have your like an attitude like that with rehab too, like especially like car accident situations. Like there's so many things you have to deal with out like just with lawsuits, everything, and just to focus on the fact that you know what, like this is just another distraction and just simply labeling it as that.
I love that. I love that you kind of have it's not an if, it's a when. So I like, it's not if I get better, it's when I get better. It's having that mentality and knowing, like you said, keeping that end goal in mind. And there's no if, it's just when. And I absolutely love that. We'll talk about too, what does it take to be a professional athlete? Because we kind of have talked about your drive and determination, but what do you think it really takes from a young age to where you are now? What do you think it takes to become a professional athlete, especially a wrestler?
I think just not giving up. Definitely. Like wrestling is not the easiest sport. Like you either go into the room to kick butt or you get your butt kicked. It's like that simple. Literally like just waking up every day. And I remember like when I first moved here, there's a girl like who trains here who's like already an Olympian, and I remember just getting my butt kicked every single day. Not I think it took me like a year to get a takedown on her, and for me like that is insane because like I wasn't used to that. In high school I only lost twice, so it was like I didn't know how to handle loss very well. And I think that's another thing is like learning from your losses faster. And now learn to just have short-term memory and just bounce back, and just whatever, like no match defines me and no win or loss will ever define me. I think that's another thing is like finding yourself. Like one thing that helped me is like I was really really religious when I first moved here, and one thing that was big that I learned was that I'll never be like Arian the wrestler. I'll always just be like Arian who enjoys wrestling, and I never wanted, sorry, I got a call. I never want to take that I'll put it on do not disturb, sorry. Sorry about that. I should have done that earlier. Well, actually, I just got back from China 2 days ago, and the coach did something really amazing. Terry Steiner, the U.S. women's head coach, and he said, because China, I mean, everybody knows they're communist, right? So he was just like, these women are here for a way out, and he was just like, you guys need to remember that, and you guys get to do this because you like to do it, And he's just like, I personally believe that there's more power in being able to do something you love, not something that you have to do. And sometimes when you're so driven and so focused on your end goal, you feel like this is something I have to do, And then I think every day I just remind myself that I get to do this. Like I go to practice, I get to compete, and it really just like I've just recently started doing that probably the last like 6 months. I feel like I was so hard on myself, and I think that's why I feel like I'm gonna have a turning point in my career because I'm finally like really grateful for the chance, not like, oh, I have to make the team this year, like I have to do this, or, I'm going to lose my sponsorship or something like that. Something crazy. Like I always have huge like insecurities, like, people are going to look at, but it's just like, what, I get to do what I love to do, and not many people get to do that,
Oh, I am so happy you just said that because it's funny that you said that. It's not I have to do, it's I get to do this. And really just that one word that changes everything because I listen to a lot of like, motivational speakers and like inspirational people those like I don't know there's a lot of people out there's like a whole group out there that are really about the mindset and they talk about that it's not I have to do, it's I get to do, and that just totally shifts everything. So I'm so happy you realized that, and I'm sure this year is going to be amazing for you just because you've made that little mind shift. So I think that's so awesome. So what I want to know are the best and also the worst parts of being a professional athlete.
Um, I think the best part is definitely like knowing you're not doing sounds like kind of bad, but like just knowing you don't have like a normal life, I guess.
Yes. The 9 to 5 grind.
Yeah, yeah, definitely that.
What would you
And
say is the worst thing?
just some days if literally you wake up and you feel like you got hit by a truck.
I'm sure, especially with wrestling. I can only imagine what, how you feel and how your body feels after matches, and just the recovery, I'm sure, is insane.
Yeah, sure.
So, and then also I want to dive into, because something we talked about before the interview, you mentioned overcoming eating disorders. So can you talk to us about your personal experience with that? Anything you're willing to share?
Yeah, of course. When I was like younger, I think probably the first time I started struggling with eating disorders was when I was before high school, so like 14 years old, maybe before that. And I realized I thought it was crazy like for girls to do it for image, for this. I felt like I was always doing it for weight control because I have to make a weight, and I kind of use that mask of like the real problem, like the actual issue. I didn't realize that I couldn't stop until I actually tried to stop. And for me, like I definitely deceived myself, and I told myself like it wasn't an image thing, but ultimately it was. Maybe not in a way of looks, but definitely in a way of like control and like looking disciplined when I wasn't. Like a lot of coaches, like yell at their athletes for not being able to make weight. Now I just didn't want fingers pointed at me anyway. Like I wanted to be the one winning matches. I wanted to be the one that the coach never had to worry about making weight, just having good grades, just like nothing. I just wanted to be blameless all in all, which ultimately does have to do with image. And it's like a lot of girls um, might do it for like the actual looks. And I used to look down upon that, but I realized we all struggle with the same thing because ultimately it definitely has to do with image. Like gymnasts, like I used to be like so confused. I was like, why would a gymnast ever have an eating disorder? Like they don't have to weigh a certain amount, but I realized like it's all the same thing. And I remember like this one memory that always comes to mind is at one of these like very prestigious wrestling camps that we had. The first time I came like open about it was when a whole bunch of us wanted to like have a cheat day. We were all like preparing for big age group championships and like international ones that summer, and we all just wanted to have a cheat day. Like we were at a place, I'm not going to name, like it's very prestigious. They had all the food available for do everything right. We could have made time to do extra cardio, whatever. Like it totally was doable for us to do it the right way. But it's kind of like wanting to get the best of both worlds kind of thing, like knowing you can have that, like I don't know. So anyways, we like all went to eat Chinese food, got like deep fried everything, and a bunch of us went to the bathroom after. We're all just laughing, like throwing up. And looking back at that now, it's really sad for me because I know some of the girls still struggle with that to this day. And they're actually very accomplished wrestlers too. And so I definitely like they're definitely in my heart, and I hope that even they listen to this and know like that they can overcome it too, and hopefully they realize it's bad, because back then I definitely didn't think it was bad. Like we thought it was funny, and a whole bunch of girls actually would pop like laxatives, like abuse those. And for us, like we think like we're just trying to beat the skill, we're just trying to do this, but really ultimately we're destroying our bodies. And what I had to come into conclusion with was that science is like proven. The little voice in my head that's telling me like that I won't make weight, or that, you know, I'm not disciplined, or I need to throw up, or I can't eat that whole day or something like that is not proven. That's not correct. You know? And just by no means am I saying like anybody who is brave enough, you know, to seek professional help do that. I was not, and I had to figure it out a different way to overcome it. So just advice for any girls like struggling with that is to just face it. If you are not eating, if you're throwing up, you know, if you're using any form of bulimia, which is laxatives too, or just even binge eating, like weekends where you don't have to make weight and just eating a whole bunch of food for no reason, like that, all the same category. Even like sport, like non-related to sports or whatever sport you do, and you're doing any of those, there's just no excuse or way to go about it. It's an eating disorder, and you have to face that. And what I luckily did was I just told somebody in my church, and she just was my accountability partner. And I just definitely hope that girls are just willing to find somebody that they trust and just tell them, I have a problem. I need help, you know, and just I need you to hold me accountable for this. And it could just be simply like them asking you, you know, how did it go this week? You know, like, did you have any thoughts about it? You know, or just even hitting up your accountability partner and telling them, hey, I just had this thought and I needed to tell you, I needed to call you and let you know, like, I almost like threw up because of this, or I didn't eat all day, you know, just something like that. Just being honest and vulnerable. And then just knowing, like, just doing research on nutrition yourself, because I personally didn't have the only nutrition like advice I ever got was from like the nutrition meetings at like Team USA camps, which definitely, but just even doing like your own research online, and just once you find out how to eat correctly, you can actually eat more, you know, and you're more energized during your practice. And what I figured out is the more I eat, the more energy I have to cut weight. So it was just like weird how it worked, but that's just trusting science over that voice in your head that's telling you like you need to control your weight in some other way or whatever, you know, like you're gonna be fine. And you can totally do it. Like anybody can overcome this. If I can do it, for sure, because it took me like a whole I want to say like a year of me fully like just admitting, you know, it being honest all the time. I remember like one time my friend bought me a meal and I like threw it up, and I was like, you know what, just for my own sake, like I need to tell her that I threw it up, because, and just apologize, because like for me, like it was just such a big secret in my life. And I was just trying to look so disciplined, like I had everything under control, you know, like all this stuff. And I know for a lot of girls, like it's a huge secret, and it's something that is just aching. Like it might not feel like, you might feel like you can quit at any time, but I used to feel that too. And when I tried, it took me a year, and it's been like 3 years now since I've done any type of weird way to lose weight or anything. But it definitely, I feel so much more free. My muscles look way more defined now. Like I've never felt better and just more energized. And I just wish like that the girls can like feel like this euphoria, like of the control now versus the control like I thought I used to have.
Right. Yeah. And I'm so happy. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I think that's going to be super impactful for our listeners. And I love that you just brought that up about the control, because I think it's one about the image and, you know, like self-esteem and like body image dysmorphia, but it's also the control aspect of it, because if it's easy to be able to feel like you can control food. But like you said, it's really one, realizing that you have to admit that you need help, and it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to, you know, seek help. And I love that you said, you know, if you should try and go seek professional help, but if you can't, definitely go and just find someone that you trust. I think it's amazing having a friend that you can confide in and really, like you said, feel like it's not a secret anymore, because that feeling once you tell someone is so freeing. And then also too with the research and just like doing your own research and figuring out what works, because food is your friend. Like food, like you said, food can properly fuel you. And like you said, there's so many good nutrient dense foods out there that can totally help you in whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. Like you said, if it's making weight or whether it's gaining weight or losing weight, like there are foods out there and you can do it the right way. But I think it's hard, especially today. There's so many fad diets. Like we hear all these different diets that are like coming onto the rise, but it's really figuring out like, okay, but what, like food is your friend and food can help you. So just really, I think being an intuitive eater and really just figuring out what works for you. Because there's also foods that may work for your body and may not, digesting wise. So I love that. And I think too, maybe seeking out a nutritionist. I mean, not always do girls have the opportunity to do that, but if you don't, like you said, do your research, because like food is your friend. So, but thank you for sharing that. That was amazing.
Yeah, of course. I hope it helps somebody or like more than one person. Hopefully that'd be amazing, just to even help one person.
I'm sure it will, 100%. So we talked about this as well a little bit before the interview, but do you face any criticism for being a female competing in a very combative sport like wrestling?
Definitely. Like the minute I tell somebody that I wrestle, their whole face changes every time. Like it doesn't matter, like anything, like I don't know. But one thing that like got me confidence, I think, is in 8th grade, I actually broke a guy's shoulder. And then the next year he asked me to homecoming. So
what? Oh my gosh.
Your like feminine essence, definitely has nothing to do with like your sport. Like I definitely tried to act like a boy at one time in my life, but I just hated it, And but yeah, like I get so much criticism all the time. It's just like from looks to little smart comments to like, ooh, I'm scared. Like I don't know. I just I know how to handle it now, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like I don't want to be with somebody who I can beat in wrestling anyways, know. Like just I get a lot, definitely a lot, and I don't know like what specifically like you want me to touch on, but definitely a lot of criticism.
Yeah, and I'm sure I like that you said too, like you can be, and I think it's the same thing with a lot of sports for women, but like you can be feminine and you can also be strong and like a badass in your sport, because we as humans are multi-dimensional people. We're not just, you can't put us in just one box. So I love that you like rock it and own it, and I think you can definitely tell. And you touched on confidence. So how do you gain confidence, do you think? Like what is it for you that you, I guess, as well as like with the eating disorders and with being a wrestler, like what do you do in order to gain and I guess maintain confidence?
I think journaling a lot. Like I can definitely get anxious in my head a lot, and I just have to take a moment and just breathe. There was a scripture in Philippians 3, and it talks about like just focusing on what is true, what is noble, what is pure, what is this, and I'm just like, okay, any thought that's like not true, get it out of my mind. I'm not gonna win. Like, has the match happened yet? Like, that's, like just simple stuff like that. That's how I definitely gain my confidence. Is about thinking like just positive thoughts, like wiping out doubts, and just even surrounding myself with positive people too. I think that helps my confidence, because at the end of the day, there are people who are just going to destroy your confidence, and it can be from coaches to teammates to friends, to family, and just keeping an arm's length from those people and just admitting it. It's definitely very sobering to have to admit that there's a toxic person in your life, but that was a big thing for me, is I definitely thought like, you know what, my love can change anybody's heart, kind of thing, and it's just not true. Like it will never be good enough to like help somebody, like if somebody don't. And definitely just surrounding yourself with good people definitely like Megan, who showed a podcast. Just people like that, you know, that are like-minded, driven, not lazy, and just I definitely think like I like to watch victory moments of other people's sports, you know, stuff like not related to my sport. That definitely like gives me like the confidence in the fact that I'm not wasting my life away. You know, it's going to be worth it.
I love that. I love that you journal. I think journaling is very I don't know, it's just a very freeing thing, and you realize a lot when you get out your emotions. Like I know that when I journal, sometimes I'll write things and I'm like, I didn't even realize that I was like really thinking that. So I think it's I think it's, you know, I feel like journaling such a not an old school thing, but like I definitely didn't do it in high school or college, but I would highly recommend, you know, for our listeners to try and journal, because you'll realize things about yourself that you never really actually like consciously thought. So it's definitely very helpful. And then like you said too, you know, about self-doubt, I think that sometimes when we're not confident, it's because we have a fear of things that haven't even happened. Like you said, you know, not winning a match. Well, guess what? The match hasn't happened yet. So how do you know? So I think just knowing that your fears are coming from doubt and that you don't know until it happens. And so just putting that fear aside until, you know, the event actually happens, and just knowing that you got to think positively until that moment comes. So, and like you said, the finding your circle is so important. Especially, I know it's hard because, you know, coaches and teammates and friends, like, you know, family, they're all so close to you, but it is a so much better life when you're able to get rid of those toxic people in your life, and when you're able to just, you know, move forward and be in a group of people that really just like level you up and really just like try to push you up. So I absolutely love that. Well, Arian, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners before we end?
No, I don't, but thank you so much. I definitely enjoyed this, and I just want to spread love and positive thoughts to everybody, and I hope that this helped somebody.
I definitely think it will. And oh my gosh, I loved this conversation with you. Before we go, final question. What does playing like a girl mean to you?
To me, it just means I think being able to do what men do, but looking better.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Oh my gosh, Arian. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We sincerely appreciate it. And good luck for next year, and good luck for getting into the 2020 Olympics.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Oh my gosh, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did. I love that we touched on a few very important topics just for females in general, as far as confidence and eating disorders, and just really going for what your heart desires and not letting anything stop you. And like Arian, she doesn't have a plan B. Wrestling is going to be her end goal. It's what she wants to do. And I absolutely think that she had a lot of inspirational pieces of advice for you guys. So if you love this episode, please share it with a friend who you think will love it too. If you have just a few minutes to leave an honest review on iTunes, we would appreciate it more than you know. You can also send any questions or topics you'd like us to cover by sending us a DM on Instagram at PlayLikeAGirlMP. We want to know what you want to hear. Before you go, screenshot this episode and tag us at PlayLikeAGirlMP so we know you're listening alongside us. And we may even repost it. Thank you so much for listening to episode 19 of Play Like a Girl. We hope you come back for more. Once again, I'm Nikki B, and remember to never stop playing like a girl.
You play ball like a girl!
Can be a girl in a man's game, a diamond in the dirt.